Jaylen Brown is the best player on the Celtics. At least that's what Jason Kidd said during the NBA Finals. And whether he was trying to play some mental warfare or not, there is some truth to that statement. Long seen as the co-star to Jason Tatum, Brown has gotten a lot more respect this season and is currently, in fact, taking the reins of the team on the biggest stage in basketball. Let's break it down. So Jason Tatum was a high-impact player from day one, selected high with the third pick in the draft, and from his first game in the NBA, he showed flashes of not only being a star, but being the guy that could hopefully lead a championship team one day. He has every tool you want to see when building the ideal star. On-ball and off-ball elite-level shot creation, athleticism, and multi-positional ability on offense as well as defense. It's easy to see why from the get-go, Tatum was going to be groomed to be the face of the Celtics. And for the most part, he has lived up to the hype. Oftentimes looking like the best player on the court while leading the offense and then also defending the opponent's best players on the other side. But the past few years, he has struggled in translating that production to the playoffs. Unable to elevate his game on the biggest stage and oftentimes becoming a much worse and inefficient version of himself. In the past 3 years, his player efficiency rating has dropped by an average of 2.6 from regular season to the playoffs. And to his credit, he gives it his all regardless of how he's playing. He has become a significantly more aggressive rebounder and defender in the playoffs. He's been playmaking more for his teammates, basically doing whatever he can to make an impact. And that'd be great as a supporting star or a role player, but when the defense tightens up or teammates are struggling, the main guy has to be able to get himself a bucket to keep his team in the game. And Tatum has struggled big time in that area. His true shooting dropped an average of 3.1% in the playoffs over the past 3 years and over 5% this season. Seeing as he's taken 22.6 true shots a game, that doesn't exactly help the team. Specifically, as an isolation scorer, he's been outright terrible. In the playoffs, over 18 games, he's shooting 31% in isolation, which would rank him 21st out of the 29 players who played at least 4 playoff games and had 1 ISO play per game at the least. Pair that with the fact that he has the second most ISOs per game in the playoffs behind just SGA, and it doesn't look great. Tatum has largely been relying on his aggressiveness and the high-level scoring ability of his teammates so he can stay involved and effective through playmaking. But now let's look at Jaylen Brown. Before we get into that, if you like the video so far, consider subscribing to the channel where I break down the NBA and your favorite players using deep analytics that help us see beyond the box score. By all means, Jaylen Brown is very talented, also being selected with the 3rd overall pick, but has never been seen on exactly the same level as Tatum. He has his limitations, such as the famous trouble with his left hand. He also wasn't as impactful in his first few years. Brown took a little longer to develop as a player, being downright bad his first season and below average all the way until his 4th season in the NBA. But he has squeezed out every bit of production possible from his still high-level tool set, sharpening the edges while creating a strong and explosive frame. He, like Tatum, plays elite defense, guarding the best guards in the league, and being a large reason Kyrie Irving was struggling early against the Celtics, for example. And on offense, his improved shot has allowed him to score off the dribble or spot up, which perfectly complements the more athletic parts of his game. For most of his career, Brown was a supporting star to Tatum, playing off him and taking his shots as they come naturally. But slowly, he has been becoming way too good to stay in just that role. These playoffs, he has been by far the most impactful scorer for the Celtics. He hasn't just been more efficient, he's been making huge game-changing and momentum-swinging plays all postseason, accumulating up to the game winner in the series versus the Pacers. Massive dunks, long threes, buzzer beaters, the type of shots stars take. The Celtics still try to play through Tatum for the most part, allowing him to run the offense more often, but the results have been mixed. While elevating as a playmaker, he has regressed as a scorer. If a play doesn't end in a pass, you can often see an ill-advised tough shot or just straight brick coming from Tatum. He still has the higher ceiling by the way of his natural talent and body. So it could be that the team is being careful as to not create a rift between its two stars, especially after Jason Kidd's comments. teammates are constantly juggling praise for Brown while still giving Tatum his flowers. But for now, the Celtics are Jaylen Brown's team. Let me know if you agree.